Welcome to Rex Arthur TV. This is the Rex Arthur Show where we discuss LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ approach and an LGBTQ perspective and a humanistic approach in an LGBTQ plus planet. And today we are going to be focusing on what happened at the COP24 Climate Summit, and we want to cover the 5 days that have taken place. And today, this is the website of COP24, and so we want to go through a summary of what happened at the week in Poland. And it began on December 4th, and so we want to first of all look at the different days. There's what you call a diary, and they started talking around day 3. Okay, so day 4 was December 4th. Day 2 was December 4th, and day 1 was December 3rd. So I'm not seeing any diary here. So we're going to start with day 3. And we're going to see what was deliberated on that day. At least we had discussed and said we were going to talk about this in our previous videos. And here we are. So let's go through COP24 diary, day 3. So there you are. It's COP24 Katowice, United Nations Climate Change Conference, Poland 2018. And there you can see Michael Kutika, the State Secretary in the Ministry of Energy in Poland, who is the president of COP24. So the official start of the technical negotiations began on December 4th. And they were dealing with the ways of implementing the Paris Agreement, which has to be officially adopted at the end of COP24 on December 14th. So they're basically discussing the Paris Agreement, and they talk about the provisions of scaled up financial resources, which should aim to achieve a balance between adaptation and mitigation, taking account country-driven strategies and the priorities and needs of developing country parties. As you know, developing countries are going to suffer the most from climate change. Then they talked about green finance, and the EU finance ministers agreed in the day to assess brown and green factors for banks' capital requirements, a significant move into greening the financial flows in Europe, an important signal towards Katowice. And of course, they discussed a package to implement that the green and brown factors. Of course, there you can see the reports and all of these, and the capital requirements for the banks that will be doing green financing. And then you have a just transition. And here we find Germany announcing the Coal Commission will postpone its work to 1st February 2019 from the original end of 2018 deadline. And France announced that his government will drop a set of measures initially designed to foster the energy transition as a reaction to the Yellow Vest protests against new environmental tax on fuel. Yeah, so you know there's the Yellow Vest protests in France that are mainly against the green tax. So it's very weird that these protests are happening because just against the backdrop of the COP24 climate summit, people are not happy that they're going to have to pay tax on fuel, and so France has to amend that. In fact, I think the latest news is that they are going to put the tax away. So it's still a problem. And that's what you need to know about climate change, that our efforts to try and reduce climate change or climate destruction will be met with some opposition because it means change of the system, which is not an easy thing to do. So here's the climate risk index, and 2017 was the year with the highest weather-related damage ever recorded. And the storm, heavy rains, heat and drought claimed more than 11,000 lives and claimed more than $300 billion worth of damage, according to the Climate Risk Index published on Tuesday by German Watch. And poorer countries were most affected, and these include Puerto Rico, Honduras, Myanmar, Haiti, Philippines, Nicaragua, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Vietnam, and Dominica. Actually, Pakistan, the floods were horrendous, completely devastating. And here's bad news from developed countries. Carbon emissions from advanced economies are set to rise in 2018 for the first time in 5 years, reversing a declining trend. So, guess what? 2018, guys went back to increasing carbon in the atmosphere. And this is sad news, but good news for India. India is well on track to achieve two of its three Paris Agreement goals ahead of the 2030 deadline, and according to the IFA. Congratulations to India. And India wanted to do 40% of electric power from non-fossil fuel by 2030, and to reduce emissions intensity of its GDP from 33 to 35% from the 2005 level to 2030 through using a renewable energy that includes a 175 gigawatt of renewables by 2022, solar industrial parks, and to increase an additional 2.5 billion tons of carbon sinks, reservoirs that accumulate and store carbon dioxide through the planting of additional forest and tree cover. Wonderful. And India is a very beautiful country. It is able to do that. And then the World Bank has committed 200 billion to help in adaptation of these policies. And Poland wins Fossil of the Day award at COP24. Good. That is day 3. And then we can go to, you see, Macron had to make a U-turn on the fuel tax increases because of the Yellow Vest protests. So green tax is not popular. Any tax is not popular. And that's why the climate change COP24 will have to discuss ways and means to raise money other than taxation, because people tend to be overtaxed. That could be the reason. Let's go to day 4. Excuse me. Now, day 4, there you have the delegates are now working on a 200 or so document from around 300 pages presented at the Bangkok session last September. By the end of this week, they are to present a significantly reduced and homogeneous text. So they were still negotiating, and they were trying to do is streamline the negotiation text. Good, so that's good. It's very good to streamline text. We don't need very many bulky documents. And then you find Russia has pledged to put money in green climate funds only a few days after Germany had announced the same. Congratulations to Russia and Germany. Bulgaria, while a Bulgarian coal company prepares to dig an open-pit coal mine spanning 3 villages, a local farmer has launched a legal case to stop it, NGO Client Earth said in a press release. So there you are. Private citizens are fighting government plans to do coal. Congratulations to that farmer. And Canada said her country will be ready to set tougher emission cutting plans when the Paris Climate Change Agreement kicks in by the end of 2020. So Canada is also pledging commitment to the Paris Agreement, and there calls for the private sector to accelerate investment in low carbon solutions ahead of the September 2019 UN Summit for Sustainable Goals. And there's another call of heads of states. The open letter by Macron and Holness followed another one released, signed this time by a cross-section of group of 50 global business leaders urging world leaders to accelerate climate action against global warming. And here you are, businessmen are also talking, and the shipping industry has decided to cut net carbon emissions and reach carbon neutrality by 2050. Congratulations to the shipping industry. And the car industry, Germany wants to drop production of combustion cars by 2026. Congratulations, this is a best news. And this is wonderful news that cars will now be they will not use the normal combustion engine system that they have always been using. Good. This is wonderful news, and Volkswagen is trying, and so are the other car companies in Germany. All right, let's now stop at day 5. Is there anything important? How will oil producing countries meet the challenge of climate change? Yes, it's a very important thing. A nice article to look at. Tracking climate change will require transforming the whole economy. Yes, I agree with these financiers. It's not an climate change means economic change. Climate change means political change. Climate change means social change. Climate change means cultural change. And another thing you need to understand is if we do not change, if we do not respond to climate change by having solutions to it, guess what? It will no longer be climate change, but climate destruction. And climate destruction means political destruction. And political destruction means economic destruction. And economic destruction means cultural destruction. And cultural destruction means social destruction. And social destruction means ecological destruction. And ecological destruction means world destruction. Already animals are going extinct because of climate change. So we are already time bad, and that's what we have to understand. Anyway, when it comes to animals disappearing, of course, you know, dinosaurs disappeared. And I'm going to do a video about the lifestyle of the dinosaurs. I have a feeling they also went through their climate change, but it was not necessarily because of carbon emissions, but because of celestial and cosmological conditions that changed the world. Because you have to understand, the sun has an age. And the question is, if the sun is about 4 billion years old, how was it burning when it began, the first year of burning? Was it very strong or very weak? Did the sun grow, because stars are born and the sun is a star. So if maybe it started burning, and when it overburned or